Look at Randy Orton slithering.
Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out.
KO. Here's the cover.
Hey, what's up guys? And we're back here for the second time today because I had to redo this video. So, now we're back again in the ERAC 105, the Tier 8 French Premium Light Tank. So, recently been on a little bit of a grind to try to... I've done this before, but new tanks been added to the game to get all of my Tier 8 lights 3 marked and then Tier 9 and then maybe Tier 10, but I doubt I 3-marked the EBR 105. That thing's too painful to play. But our first game here, we are on Thiepel Ridge, ballooned out with Randy. Kind of pushing aggressive here initially, trying to go for initial spots from the old position that I always like to use. But unfortunately, the meta has changed a bit nowadays, so people kind of just push right across that 890 line from their spawn. And it makes it kind of unplayable here, as you see an enemy Brusque immediately comes flying in. And we got to kind of get out of dodge. We try to lead the shot a bit, and then we drive into a wall. Thankfully, we actually don't take any damage here. The Panther 88 hits just some spaced armor or whatever and doesn't do any damage. And again, we're trying to get away because this is just not where we want to be at. It's too much coming this way, and again, another rock. I blame Petty. But, anyways, we try to push back here. I'm not going to go up on the hill itself because that makes it's too one-dimensional. They have the advantage anyways there. So I'm actually going to push all the way back to the hill on our base, basically where our enemy already is. And we can actually spot them pretty well from that position. There's some bushes up there we can use. And it's an easy spot to, if they do push it, we can get out of dodge pretty quickly because there is this hill and we're able to, you know, exfil without getting shot. There's a solid hill in between us and them. So, like I said, we're getting some early shots. Unfortunately, that one doesn't come off. I'll talk a little bit about the vehicle stats here on this one real quick, as they're pushing in quite aggressively. It gets high, I think it is the highest alpha on a Tier 8 light tank. That is not a derp gun. So the Turtle, of course, has the highest alpha. But if we're talking about a gun that actually has good penetration, then it is the ERAC 105 with its 105mm. It is 390 alpha, has 200 pen on its APCR rounds, and then 250 on its heat. What's quite nice about the APCR rounds is they're quite high velocity. They are actually like 1460 meters per second, which is really, really, really good. It means your shells, you don't have to give much lead to them, and they connect quite quickly. You don't have to, you know, you're not a Hawk 12, which like has 600 meters per second. It feels like you're firing a potato launcher. No, this thing hits. Now, that does decrease with the heat rounds. The heat rounds go down to 980 meters per second, but I don't feel like I use those that often in this tank because 200 millimeters of pen on the APCR is actually, it's pretty good for a Tier 8 light tank, believe it or not. Compared to other tanks, yeah, not that great, but because you had that mobility and that camo, you're actually able to get on the flanks and rears of tanks much more often. The gun is fairly accurate for a scout, not accurate in the whole game. It's .36 at 100 meters, which is, you know, it's okay. It's not great. There's certainly better out there. The problem with having, and it's the balancing factor of it, with that 390 alpha on a light at this tier is that you don't have that fast of a reload, unsurprisingly. Your reload is around 12 seconds, and with that being the case, you're not going to want to be too aggressive like you would in other scouts, say like in a circle, an LTTB, Bulldog, any of those. As we go, whoa, we're not going up on that hill, that's a full health Tier 9 VK, and he starts charging down. Thankfully, at this point, we do have Randy having shots on the side of him. Thin ones, but hey, they're connecting, so we'll take it. If we can put one more shot into him, he actually turns the VK into a one-shot for us. That's what's nice about having this alpha on a scout. So yeah, now he's at 300 health. Most other Tier 8 lights, he's a two-shot for us. We only have to hit him once here. Load up, poof, and take that Tier 9 heavy tank quite quickly with some good teamwork. Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to be necessarily circle of deathing this thing against other enemy scouts. I mean, you can see just there our reload is 12.4 seconds without boosting our food. So not an ideal tank for that. It's more of a sit at a distance, use your camo, use view range, and try to slap people every 12 seconds kind of vehicle. So you could set this up a little different than me because I'm using gun rammer optics, improved concealment, and then I think gun stabs is my equipment loadout on this. And you could necessarily put camo net and maybe binos because it does have good concealment. My concealment is down to I think 260, I think. Yeah, 274. Vision is 464 meters, which is good. It's solid for a tier light. Is it necessarily like a Vanguard? No, but nothing is the Vanguard. Let's be real here. That thing's camo, it's down ridiculous. So, you did see a bit of a misplay there on my behalf against that Senshi. He was able to easily put 2 shots into us there. We should have just hung a left when we were going down the hill, not gone back up and far around the hill. I got, I think, a little overconfident in the camo there. I was like, well, he hasn't spotted me yet. He's not going to spot me. And then literally a second later, he spots me and takes me down to half health. That is the thing. It's mobile, but it's not fast. It's not like a blistering fast tank or hard to hit. I mean, you look at the thing. It's just a giant box. So, again, another negative on why you shouldn't be playing this thing super, super aggressively, like doing the circle of death against enemy heavies or whatever, if you can help it. Obviously, situations arise and you have to do what you have to do, but in this tank, you want to try to stay at range, play peek-a-boom on those city maps, that kind of stuff, as we spot out the enemy already. And we're going for fuel tanks here, because actually, that's roughly where they are at on the 5355. I mean, it's a frontally mounted engine. Unfortunately, it doesn't come off, even though we are running expert gunner on this crew skill, or this crew. And again, most of our crew skills are all the standard scout ones that are going to improve concealment, going to improve the situational awareness, going to improve the view range, all that kind of good stuff. In addition to some of the gun handling perks like run and gun and so on and so on. Not running armor angling or anything like that. So kind of my gist of running the crew equipment skills is that. As we line up a shot and take out the enemy already as we should have the previous shot, but we were a little bit of a potato. It's okay. It happens. And yeah. So now we're just kind of moving into the end game here. We have 2 tier 9s left and the Senshi that ran away earlier after he lost all his support. So pushing in a bit of an unorthodox way here. I think retrospectively, which is always, easy to do looking back at this game, is probably gone where our friendly medium is going at the A line there, just because that opens up more flexibility for us. We could have gone up on the hill at B2, B3 and been completely safe. Instead, we're kind of taking a really aggressive route and putting ourselves in a crossfire unknowingly. As we round this corner, hello, Wheezy 120. We actually wait till we're totally flat on to try to take a shot into him. Again, we get lucky because the penetration's not great on this shell. That could have easily bounced. He puts one into us. We just have to run here and hope that we don't get taken out high rolled. And then, there's the Senshi. He's been a bane of our citizens. We just take a snapshot out of frustration because we've put ourselves in a bad position there, knowingly. And here I feel like half the time that would have killed me, that little jump, but it didn't, especially on 33 hit points. So, again, get a bit lucky there. And here I think this is where the enemy medium, I don't think he realizes what tank Randy is in at this point. Not that it would matter too much because we've got 3 tanks closing in around him. But I don't know if he realized that the Vipera is actually an autoloader. And then Randy takes him out after we put 1 shot into him. Finishing that game up with 3 kills, 4,000 assists, and just shy of 3,000 damage. A pretty nice result. Good teamwork. You see Randy also had a good game, 5,700 damage and 1,900 base in the Vipera. It's Tier 8 Italian autoloader. And yeah, So, a solid game. And moving on to the next one, which will be a very, very drawn out game on Pearl River, both intentionally and non intentionally, and talk about some good plays and some misplays in this one. So, here on Pearl River, it is I believe it's a tier 8 game. We're going to try to go to the position at F5, down on the low road here. From this spawn, you can really only get up into this position in a light tank, and even in one that's a little bit sluggish like this, because this thing does not accelerate fantastically for a scout, it does get up to 70 kph, but it doesn't turn that well, and it doesn't accelerate super well for a scout. We're going to try to get up into this position, but unfortunately we take a little bit too wrong of an angle there, and we don't get up early to get early spots. That's okay, but it means that they may get by without taking any shots of damage. Little things like that can add up. Randy actually full health ammo rack, that guy right there, just saying. And we're going in for round 2, and then we drive into a building. So the trend of this video is that I can't drive early in the game, apparently. And then we spot, not spot, but we're kind of like, okay, well, this AMD is just YOLOing around. Maybe he'll give us a shot here if he keeps driving in a particular pattern here. And sure enough, he does. We just got to lead it right, which means right into him for 394 damage, and the artillery finishes him off. And then we drive into another rock. But now we're going to finally try to make our way into the position that I want. Now, at this point, probably could have just gone up into the middle, but that's such a risky play, going straight through the middle, because they could send the enemy team could send a bunch of tanks that way and just instantly evaporate us just like that, and we'd be done. Our game's gone. So I'd rather spend a little bit of time and trying to be finicky with this position, trying to get up into that spot. And then here you can see we're able to extend our view range out fairly far on the mini-map all the way to the borderline of the map. Now, they have a lot of tank destroyers in this matchup, and quite a few of them are quite sneaky, so it's going to be hard to spot. But then we actually do spot one of the sneaky ones, which is the Borsig. Now, with not a lot else being spotted, I'm not too keen on just like poking there and waiting for him to give me a shot, which he may, but it's not worth it. Because all that's spotted on their team right now is, I think, like 2 heavy tanks on the 9-0 line, and that's it. So most of their tanks are going to be sniping probably up around the 1-2 line, and I don't want to give them a chance to shoot me. This thing only has 1,100 hit points, or not 1,100, 1,000 hit points. I wish I had 1,100 hit points. It has 1,000 hit points. And like I said, I don't want to lose them unnecessarily if I can help it. So here we go up to the middle because we feel like nothing's been spotted. We put one into the Borsig for 468, which is, it's quite the high roll. One thing I may change about my setup on this vehicle, looking back on this, is adding a few HE rounds to my loadout as we put a nice shot into the enemy light tank, the Aguila. That's what we want to do with these scouts, the scout-on-scout engagements in this tank, is keep them at range if you can, and rely on your view range and vision, and less so on trying, well, you don't want to try. If you're duking it out one-on-one against an enemy light in this thing, you're probably going to lose, because it has a 12-second reload. But if you can put shots into them at range, and or when they're not expecting it, that's the ideal scenario for this tank with 390 Alpha. It trades well. Plays peekaboo well. I don't say trades well, but against enemy scouts, if you take one hit, they take one hit. 400 damage is a lot more than 180. But if we keep taking shots like that from the Aguila, we're going to lose our tank quite quickly. So yeah. What I was saying about the HE, the HE does have, I think, 53 millimeters of pen or so, and has about 480 alpha, which is quite good. I don't know why I don't have a few. It has enough ammo to carry that. Those HE rounds, it has, I think, more ammo than the freaking, almost more ammo than the LTTB does. And this has, 390 alpha. Where those shells are at in this thing, I have no idea. But logic, this thing has, the room to carry that many 105 millimeter shells. So this game's really slow developing. It's still quite even. The only thing I spotted is their Borsig, and then we see a J Panther, and then the Chrysler K is actually moving in on our TD. Now, there are actually some tanks pushing down the 9-0 line, and retrospectively, it probably would be more beneficial if we were trying to spot that flank right now, either from this middle position, not here, but at like E5, 6, E6 area. There's a little window that you could shoot from and try to get shots into them from, because we probably could have maybe helped our T-34, or not T-34, the Borsig on the end on our team, because he's got to deal with this T-34-85. He does take him out, but then the enemy Borsig takes him out. But we do slap one into him in return, even though it was not fully aimed. But now we have a pretty dangerous Tier 8 TD set in our rear. And then I'm talking to Randy here. He's pushing in. He's kind of bored. And we're able to take out that Tier 7 German TD. So I can see Randy and them are now pushing that flank pretty quickly. The Chrysler K gets spotted in the middle. That's not a tank I really want to fight in that scenario. It's suboptimal, to put it lightly. So I'm trying to support Randy. He's on low health against this Diamondback. But if this Diamondback pushes back just like that, I can get shots into him and take him down to fairly low health. One shot between me and Randy to combine together, which is called a two-shot, fun fact. And we were able to put another one into him. Again, if you can have the time to get the shots in, the damage adds up in this tank. It is 105 millimeter, but it just takes time. That's the biggest asset for this vehicle. The longer this game goes on, the more damage we're able to do, which is true of any tank, obviously, but this tank is not going to do a lot of damage super quickly in those 2 and 3 minute games. It's just not going to happen usually. So as we're driving along the road here, we actually did spot the Chrysler K via proximity. Now, I don't want to go through this gap because there's probably a Borsig staring right there, and I don't want to take a 490 Alpha shell and then make me an easy one-shot for this Tier 8 American heavy tank. Unfortunately, Randy gets taken out by the artillery there, and he does get spotted. We're hoping maybe to get a shot on him. But, surprise, surprise, there's a Chrysler K. We were able to put one in, but we just need to keep driving here because we're in a bad scenario. We're in an engagement that we did not plan for, did not expect him to be there at all. Now, I could swing left here, which is probably the better idea, honestly. Instead, we go right because we're going to try to be greedy because I see the TD coming in. I'm like, okay. My thought process is we'll flank this guy together and, cooperate. And I'm like, okay, he's definitely looking at the TD, right? No, he's not. We try to shoot the Chrysler K once. It doesn't go in at that angle. Again, 200 pen, and then unfortunately he hits us again and puts us down to a guaranteed one shot for himself. Yeah, so a very botched engagement. Just expecting support from a TD on our team, and also not looking at where his gun was facing when we went on that corner. So a bit on me, a bit on the team, whatever. It is what it is. We just should not have started that or continued that engagement. We should have just ran away, probably. But again, all retrospectively. So we got to do what we got to do now with the cards that are dealt, where we found ourselves. So at this point, I'm like, okay, let's try to find the Borsig or find a way to hit the Borsig, because I'm thinking he's driving up the JK line, right? That would be logical. That would be the logical thing. He's going to keep progressing that way. But no. Fun fact, he's driving back this way for some reason. We take a pot shot. I don't know. It's never going to pen. Then we hit a building, which is, not great. I'm a bit of flustered here because I'm thinking maybe the Chrysler K is getting shots. They're trying to get an angle on me to get shots into me, or a shot, because I am a guaranteed one shot. And then I remember this bush, and I'm like, okay, let's see if we can ambush this guy. He thinks I'm running away, and sure enough, he doesn't even spot me. So, great result there. We're able to take out the other enemy tank, and now all we have is a Chrysler K and the enemy artillery left. Now, the Chrysler K, in the position he was at, is a quite strong vehicle. Again, I can't pen him frontally with my APCR rounds. with only 200 pen. You need like 220, 230 to go through his lower plate if it's straight on to you. And I also don't want to be straight on. Like, that's yeah. We want to be on his flanks. And we see our Tiger 2's on full health. I'm like, okay. We should still win this. Like, I mean, hypothetically. But our Tiger 2's not the best player. Spoilers alert. And our team spots the Tiger 2 crossing, or not Tiger 2, sorry, the Chrysler K crossing in the middle. So again, retrospectively, it would have been better if we had kept up and gone to like the E7, E8 position, and we could have got easy shots into the rear of this guy, and this game could have been over much more quickly. But it's easy to say here from after the fact, because he could also have been sat up there trying to get shots into me after I got spotted by the Borsig earlier on. So, it's easy. Hindsight is 2020. So instead, we're taking up this kind of position. We're able to get a side shot here into the Chrysler K, making him a potential one shot, quote unquote, but likely we're going to have to put 2 shots into him. Unless we get, some gracious RNG. We have 4 minutes here, so we don't have to rush it here too much. We can take our time, try to find an angle, and take this guy out of the game. Now, at this point, Randy is spectating the Tiger 2. And I don't want to give the guy too much crap, because it's, retrospectively looking at it, it's probably a young kid, or maybe some other scenario, but how they're playing is not good. They're full health, and they're running away from a one-shot, essentially a one-shot or low health, tier 8 heavy, same tier heavy tank. And they do this for the next 4 or 5 minutes, and will not actually do any damage this entire game. 0, big 0. But like I said, I'm not going to be too judgmental. Something's going on there. So at that point, when I'm after hearing that in the comms, I'm like, well, okay, it's really a 2v1 or 2v2. Me and Artie versus their heavy tank and their Artie. Artie's actually repositioning and such. I'm trying to get a shot and trying to find a side angle. And as soon as we look away a bit, that's, of course, is when we get an angle on the Chrysler K. He's 370 health. We should kill him, right? Thanks, RNG. Granted, that was a bit of a chancy shot, so also thank you, RNG, for letting that shot connect, but also we have 390 alpha. I feel like we should have killed that guy if we did pen, but it's a miracle that shot actually penned regardless. But that is probably a little bit due to the fact that we have that nice, that shell velocity I talked about earlier in the video. It is quite high. It's one of the highest, I think, at tier 8. Like I said, 1460. Unfortunately, our already does get taken out, so now it's more like a 1v2 scenario. Other than the fact that the Tiger 2 is at least keeping him spotted and pinned in one position. So that is, a positive for us. It means we don't have to worry about the Chrysler K interrupting me as I go to finally go take out the enemy artillery. And yeah, I think the reason I didn't want to go take out the enemy artillery, I was like semi-hoping that we could take out the Chrysler K and we could come from 2 different angles on this enemy artillery, because Randy's also letting me know this guy has a little bit of a... He's not clueless. It's not the typical arty player. He knows kind of what he's doing. We do put one shot into him, but we have to be careful here. We're only on 116 hit points. We're not the most nimble light tank in the world, and we're made of paper. I don't know if I said, but the armor is only 20 millimeters at the thickest on this tank, which is not a lot at all. So we just kind of making a judgment call, like, okay, which angle do you think we're going to come from? Now, we do have the camo, and then we... like, somehow that pens, we'll take it, We're not going to complain. We'll take that. Again, I think that was a case of... If the shell had gone where we actually were aiming it, it probably misses. But since it missed, it hit. That we'll take it. And we really don't have the time to dilly-dally, if one may say, to finish. We have to be proactive here, and charge in on this Chrysler K if we want to take him out of the game. Now, we don't have to. We're going to win this game based on tanks and hit points because we have 11% and this guy's a one-shot. But I like killing tanks. That's kind of why I play the game, is to, take out the enemy team. So I'm being kind of careful and trying to see. I know rightfully where he's at. And now here we bit of a misplay. The firing on the move on this tank, not good. Not a good thing to try too much, especially at range like that. Even with the heat rounds. And at 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, whew, we just beat the buzzer and finish off that Tier 8 American Heavy to feel good about securing that win and taking out all the enemy tanks. So we finished with a 5,300 damage, 4 kills, 1,900 base, a little bit of assisted damage, not a lot, unfortunately. You can get good assisted in that initial position I talked about, but it just didn't happen that game. And yeah, so 1,900 base, a quite good result in the ERAC 105, and I'd expect a few more, maybe another video on this tank, because like I said, I am slowly trying to 3-mark all the Tier 8 lights in my garage, and I only have this one left, and then the Lynx, the Tier 8 Wheelie Boy and the French Tech Tree. So those are the 2 I have left to do. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you next time. Peace out.